like Paul was facing very human critics. We think about critics. A lot of times the biggest critics we face are not critics from the outside world. They're the critics we find in our own heads, our own personal critics. How many of you guys struggle with that? Right? Struggle with your own personal. 2 hands for me, right? We struggle with our own personal critics. With anxious thoughts, the doubt, self-doubt, the negative talk, the negative self-talk. You know what I'm talking about. Saying things like, well, I'm just no good, I'm stupid. I mean, we very well know these kind of things happen in our heads, and those voices in the head, and we want them to leave, but we're like, hey. And we know that the only thing we can do to demolish these thoughts is to surround it with the weapon of truth. That's Jesus Christ. And we're so inundated with lies. Lies from the world. Lies from people that mean well. They don't know. Maybe some of them don't even know they're lying to you. Well-meaning people want good for you. I think about Peter in Matthew chapter 16. Jesus is facing someone who's meaning really well, his own disciple, Peter, the number one disciple, right? And he's probably the closest person to Jesus, the disciple closest to Jesus at this moment. And he's like, and Peter says, and Jesus has to look at him and says, get behind me. He calls him a Satan, a Hasatan, which means the adversary. Hasatan, it means the Satan. Because Satan in the Bible is not a proper name. We like to give things proper names. Satan in the Scripture is actually a title. The Satan, the adversary. So right now, Peter, you're being my adversary because I'm tempted by what you're saying, and it's a lie, and so he's being tempted to believe this lie and this argument. And so we face lies all the time. We lie to ourselves all the time. Think about all the lies you believe about yourself, right? Okay, maybe not. Don't think about it. No, we've got to think about this. We've got to be honest with ourselves. We lie to ourselves all the time. And this passage tells us, he says, what we need to do is we need to be always taking every thought captive. That's what this passage tells us to do. Now, that's a difficult job. We are a very passive people on nature. We like to let our thoughts just happen, right? We don't question it. They're my thoughts. One of our favorite statements in our world today right now is it's my truth. Because it is what it is. It's out there. It's what I'm feeling. It's what I'm thinking. It's what I'm... And that's not true. That's not a lie. It's what's really on your thoughts. But the Bible says we need to take captive those thoughts. Which means we need to be constantly monitoring our thought patterns. Wow, that sounds like work. I don't know if I'm for this. We have to constantly be monitoring our thoughts. And we have to ask ourselves, are these thoughts, number one, aligned with the Scriptures? Do they line up with the Scriptures? Are they edifying, uplifting, or do they lead down a path that leads to despair or destruction? Christ says that he came to give us life, right? And if our thoughts are leading us down a path that doesn't lead to life, then we know they're not of God. But we need to be focused on our thoughts that lead to life. And we have to monitor that. And it means we have to take those thoughts that don't lead that way captive. You know what I like about the word captive is it means it's not denying it exists. What I mean by that. Some people say, well, you got to just let that go and say it doesn't happen or to pretend it doesn't exist. Captive means it does exist, but we're putting it in prison, giving it no power. We're admitting it exists. But sometimes when I think about my thoughts, my own personal thoughts, and we say, well, I need to take this thought captive. I'm actually reminded of a bat we had here at the church one time. Some of you guys remember the bat. Some of you guys don't remember the bat we had here at this church. And it sat up in the corner over here for a couple of weeks. We couldn't get it down. I was told shooting it was wrong, so I couldn't do that. And so it just sat there, and it wasn't causing no harm to anyone, but it was there. And we tried to get rid of it, but it was outside of my reach. We couldn't get there. And so one time it flew down, like right in this hallway over here. And it was on a Thursday night, and I was here by myself, and it flew down in the hallway here, and I thought, I can get rid of that bat. I can get rid of that bat now. So I took a broom, and I smacked it all the way over here from the hallway. I laid into it, just smacked that thing. And so I went to go clean up the mess, right? Because it's surely, that's a long ways. And I get right up on it, bend down, and it flies up right in my face. And of course, I jumped about a mile, and it flew back up in the ceiling. But as I think about that, that's kind of like our thoughts, aren't they? We got bats in our belfry, and they're hard to get out. We can't get to them. They fly down, they bug us, and then we think we got them captive, and we go, and then they fly right back in our face, and they still there. And we're like, wait, I can't. Well, maybe if I were to throw a trash can on it, and it'll just pretend it doesn't exist, right? That's not how that works. Our thoughts can be a lot like these bats, and we try to get rid of them. They keep coming back. We know they're not healthy, but they keep coming back. And they are impossible to grab hold of, to take captive. Even though sometimes we even try even harder, right? If I try harder, I can get rid of this thought. If I try harder, if I have enough willpower. That's not the Bible teaches. Because willpower is us trying to fight it on our physical realm. What's it say we need to do? It says we need to fight this on the spiritual, but it's a spiritual battle. So our thoughts can be like that bat, we're trying to take captive of it, and we need to learn to capture it because these thoughts are shaping how we view all the world around us. Our whole reality is being shaped by this. And we need to take capture it, but we're like, I can't capture it. The Bible gives us wisdom on that too. Romans chapter 12. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God, and this is your true and proper worship. It says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then you'll be able to prove and be tested. We have to transform our mind. That's how we take captive our thoughts. It isn't enough to say, well, I can ignore it and it might go away, or I can will it out the door. We don't have power rings with willpower. We have to You say, it's a very real thought. So we have to acknowledge it, don't we? It's amazing what kind of power acknowledging our thoughts can have for us. We acknowledge that we struggle. I mean, think about Jesus. He acknowledges, Peter, you are causing me to be tempted right now. He didn't say, that's funny, Peter, you're not bothering me at all. He says, get behind me, adversary. I'm tempted. He even prays in the garden, right? God, if there's any way to let this cup pass from me, I don't want to go through it. If there's anything you can do that goes to plan B, I guess it'd be plan C or D by now, but if there's anything we can do that's not this, because he's tempted. We have to acknowledge it, and by even saying it out loud, right? I'm tempted by, some of you need to talk more. I'm tempted by. Oh, we fill our lives up with all kinds of clutter in our speech and our thoughts, but we need to be real about it. I'm struggling with this thought. Right now I'm feeling down. I'm going down a path that's leading me to, I feel like hurting myself. Well, I'm struggling with this loneliness. I feel all alone, and I'm struggling with it. It's okay to have these feelings. That's normal. We have to acknowledge that thought, that negative thought. I'm feeling really stupid right now. I feel like I'm no good right now. By admitting it, we're taking away its power. We're putting separation. But it's not good enough just to admit it. We've got to fill it with truth. We've got to speak truth into the matter. Where does that truth come from? It's from Jesus Christ. Because it's not about your truth. It's about His truth. It's not about, oh, this is my truth. It's what's God's truth. And we have to fill it with God's truth. How many of you guys have ever cleaned out a room or that junk drawer in your kitchen? I mean, come on, are you even an American if you don't have a junk drawer in your kitchen? You've got that drawer in your kitchen, and it's filled everything with toothpicks and batteries to those old packets of whatever restaurant you like to eat at that you're never going to use, but you might want them that the next time you have it. You clean that drawer out. You say, I'm going to leave it empty. How long does it stay empty? That's why you have that drawer in the first place. It's because it was empty and you had to throw stuff in it. Our minds are the same way. If we just say, you know what, I want to get rid of this thought. I want to get rid of it. But we don't fill it with some truth. You know what? It's just going to come back and get cluttered up again because that lie that you were believing or were being told or that the world has fed you or you fed you or someone else fed you, that lie, it's going to come right back. It might even bring some friends with it. And we say, well, this way I feel, yeah, absolutely, that's the way you feel. You've got to build truth into it. Because yes, that feeling may exist, that may exist, but it's not the truth. The truth comes from Jesus Christ. That you are wonderful. That you don't need to be anxious. That you don't need to be